Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about a pretty chilling new kind of war. It's not fought with tanks or planes. It's fought inside our own minds. And we're going to break it all down using this incredible case study out of Sri Lanka.
All right, let's kick things off with a number. Just think about this number for a second. 6.5 million. Now, what do you think that could be?
Well, that's how many followers a Chinese military-linked influence operation has on Facebook, just targeting one country. We're talking about a whole network of state-controlled accounts, all posting in the local language of Sri Lanka. That's a huge, seriously coordinated digital footprint. So you gotta ask, what's really happening here, and why should we care? Because this isn't just some random propaganda being thrown around. No, this is something way more systematic, way more sophisticated. And we're about to get into exactly how it works. Okay, to get our heads around this digital ghost army, we kind of have to zoom out. We need to understand that the very idea of conflict is changing. We're looking at a whole new battlefield. And there's a name for it: cognitive warfare. Think about that. The target isn't a building. It's not a piece of land. The target is the human mind. It's all about changing how you see the world, and because of that, changing the decisions you make. And this is where it gets really interesting, right? Traditional war, that's easy to picture. It's about blowing things up, armies, bridges, buildings. But cognitive warfare, it targets the stuff you can't see, things like social trust or our shared sense of what's real. It's designed to pull apart the very fabric of a society. And the goal is to win without ever firing a shot. So, this huge operation in Sri Lanka, it's not random. It's not just a bunch of people making stuff up as they go. No, it's following a very specific, documented military strategy. It's literally a playbook, and we can read it. So researchers started digging, right? Connecting the dots. And what they found is pretty startling. This whole Facebook campaign in Sri Lanka, it's a perfect, almost textbook example of what China's military, the People's Liberation Army, or PLA, calls its cognitive domain operations doctrine. And if you go and look at the PLA's actual strategic documents, they don't hide it. The goal is spelled out, and it's pretty chilling. They're aiming for something called Jino Chuan, and that translates to mind superiority. I mean, let that sink in. The goal is to literally control how an opponent thinks and makes decisions. Okay, so that's the big picture military strategy. But how does a huge, kind of scary concept like mind superiority actually show up on your phone? Like, how does it become a Facebook post you might just scroll right past? Well, the key tactic here is something the PLA calls subliminal cognition. The whole idea is to influence you without you even realizing it. It's meant to bypass your rational brain and go straight for your emotions and beliefs, all happening just under the surface. It's a pretty clever three-step process. First, you create trust. They make these fake profiles, usually of friendly, attractive young Chinese women who just seem to love Sri Lankan culture. It feels personal, right? Second, the language is perfect. It's not clunky, translated stuff. We're talking perfect local slang, cultural references. It feels authentic. And third, and this is maybe the most important part, is what they don't say. It's called strategic omission. They don't have to lie. They just create this perfect, happy version of reality where tough subjects like, debt trap diplomacy or human rights issues, they just don't exist. And what's crazy is that this whole strategy lines up perfectly with a 4-point playbook for mind superiority that was actually laid out by a PLA theorist. You can literally tick the boxes. Manipulate perception? Check. Just show off all the cool Chinese tech and never, ever mention the debt. Cut historical memory? Check. Just pretend that whole controversial port deal never happened. Target the elites? You bet. Get local journalists to start repeating your talking points. And finally, deconstruct their symbols. You slowly, piece by piece, replace their national identity with a new one, the identity of a partner in China's grand project. Okay, so all of this sounds pretty bad, and, it is. But here's the twist. The story doesn't end there. Because it turns out that open societies, democracies, have a kind of built-in immune system against this invisible warfare, a really powerful one. And what's so important to understand is that the best defense isn't to become more like them. It's not about censorship or control. No, the most effective defense is to double down on what makes a democracy strong in the first place. Things like transparency, education, and just having citizens who are engaged and empowered. And this isn't just a theory. We can see it in action. Just look at Taiwan. They use a humor over rumor strategy. They debunk disinformation with hilarious memes that go viral even faster than the fake news. Or take Estonia. They literally built digital literacy and critical thinking into their national school curriculum. It's mandatory. Finland's doing something similar with what they call a whole-of-society approach. What they're all doing is turning their citizens from being passive targets into an active frontline defense. So, that really leaves us with a huge question to think about, doesn't it? If the human mind really is the new battlefield, what's the ultimate weapon? Maybe it isn't some fancy algorithm or an unbreakable firewall. Maybe, just maybe, the ultimate defense is you, an educated, engaged citizen who knows how to think for themselves.